Good afternoon and welcome to the Sunday Property Show. Hope you had a good weekend and ready for the week ahead. Well, of course, every week my two contributors join and let's introduce them straight away. It's always a pleasure to welcome Ludmila Yamalova, who is managing partner with Yamalova and Plewka legal consultants. She's always back with more legislation updates, news from the legal world and ready to answer your legal questions. Ludmila, a very warm welcome to you. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Welcome. Welcome back.
Thank
to all
you.
Of us.
I know.
And happy Sunday. It's been a long time.
I keep forgetting I was away for a week. That's kind of scary,
yes,
isn't
you were.
it?
And on top of that, that was last weekend was Eid. So
That's
we
right.
Were all
it was
off.
2 weeks. Just seems like yesterday.
That's right. We've missed
Anyway, thank you. What have you got for us this week?
Well, a number of stories. Not all of them are sort of legal in nature, but interesting enough anyway. An interesting story, I think, to a lot of our listeners would, it relates to UAE banks accused of trapping customers in their own homes.
Yeah, there was a very similar story out before, wasn't there, regarding this and the mortgages?
There have been, and we've talked a lot about this issue in particular, and we've had a lot of questions from our listeners on this particular topic, so I think it will be of much interest. And it's interesting, we've been, actually, I've kind of been wanting to see more of this sort of coverage over the last several years, only because, we deal with these very issues, and it seems that we had reached some sort of a stalemate and nothing was happening. And so I'm glad it's reaching attention of someone now enough to sort of start surfacing in the media, and I hope that some sort of progress will be made in the next several months, because we're definitely due for some kind of movement, on those issues. Related to that, there's also an interesting story about Abu Dhabi National Bank ranked
the
as
safest bank. Yes, I saw
one
that.
of the safest banks, and that too is an interesting story for us personally from sort of legal perspective, because practicing law in the UAE, you end up sort of getting involved in so many different aspects of running a business, including, a client comes to you to help you open them up a company, and before you know it, they want your help with opening up bank accounts and dealing with banks. And so we deal a lot with banks, and it's been a very painful issue, not just, for our clients, but for us to find a good bank that has, competent customer service and that provides the services that they claim they provide. And I'm sure Mike has a lot to add to that, but that's why it was interesting for us personally to see this article, and so we can shed a little more light from on what it's like on the ground, sort of from a first-hand experience, how banks conduct themselves and what sort of services they provide, and how that kind of tallies up with this story on Abu Dhabi being one of the best banks. Then there's also a story about a Dubai man urging review of Ford's check case, and that's another story we've covered a lot, or sort of a story we've covered a lot, and one that's of particular sort of sensitivity and relevance to a lot of our listeners. And then there's a whole series of interesting real estate stories, all of which kind of indicate some kind of movement and and improvement, for that matter, on the real estate front. One story is about Real Estate Appraisal Center that conducts a 42 billion dirham valuation. Then another story about this corporate draft code of corporate governance for developers that will, at least in theory, sort of encourage developers to exercise better care and also answer investors' queries. So if we get time, we'll walk through that story in more detail. Then there was another story about Dubai online registration and how tenants may have to pay landlords fees in order to register their rental contracts. Then parking barriers in Jumeirah Lakes Towers, and kind of just parking sort of developments all over Dubai have been a recent issue as well, because there are more and more parking issues that are coming up, and RTA is now introducing new parking issues, or new parking, payment schemes around Dubai. Then a number of sort of landmark stories about Dubai's landmark towers. One is about its Princess Tower, how that became sort of one of the tallest towers kind of by accident. Then there's another story about Tamir delivering 696 apartments in Dubai. And then a story about elite residents that may actually become world's third tallest residential tower.
Loads to get through, actually.
Loads to get through, yes.
Let's
So
do our best to get through as many of those stories as we can. But I think the sort of banks and mortgages are sort of leading the headlines today. And as always, as I mentioned, Ludmila is happy to answer your legal questions. So why not text them in as well to 4001. Well, let's welcome also Mike Small of VSM Consulting. A very warm welcome to you, Mike. Good to see you.
Thank you very much, Siobhan. Yeah, nice to see you as well.
Mike has come armed with, it looks like, about a month load of FTs.
Do you know what? It's only a week.
Is it?
It looks like a month because it's a big paper, but it's only a week.
You carrying them around?
And I've got scribbles on just about every page, and it's not useless scribbles. The idea is to try and find stories that relate to what we're thinking of, where we're going, what the world's doing. And I have to say, I have never seen a week worse. I mean it, worse than this week.
Oh,
if you look into the detail, if you just skit over the top, do your little bit of hype and hope, no problem. You can miss it. But if you really look at the detail, what's going on. So what I'd like to do today is go the story in the National today, which is the story on the
banks.
Yes, has to be aired. It is just monumental for any market. In fact, there's a BBC one this week on the same thing happening in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just the UAE. It's global again, and it's this word trust. Can you trust a bank anymore? I don't. So looking around, also, I want to go on to the macro also and say, okay, where are we in terms of the EU? Because obviously a lot of people now believe it's all sold. Rubbish. America, fiscal cliff coming up end of the year, real problem. China as well. Lots of rich people taking their money out of China, not more than the money that's being printed in China. So bit of a shortfall. So again, and the amount of stuff coming out of China, the amount of shipping coming out of China, well down. The amount of electricity used, down. So all these things sort of don't actually tie up with the official version of what people tell you is happening.
Right, especially China's recent announcement of building the tallest building in the world.
Yeah.
Well, again, that ties in with something, I'm afraid, which is tradition, and it's logical. As I said last week, it's about 2 weeks ago. It's very logical that developments like that will get built at the height of risk non-awareness, when people have no awareness of risk. And that's when they get built. So Taipei was built just before the Asian crisis, and unfortunately our Burj Khalifa here was built just before the global crisis. And this happens all the time. It just keeps repeating itself, because of course you get into a mood, or the whole economy, or the world economy in some places gets into a mood where nothing can go wrong. And of course that's the time when landmark projects get devised and built, which unfortunately then hit it just as it does go wrong. Because at the point where nothing can go wrong is always the point it does go wrong. And we learn that in life, don't we? I certainly do.
Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose you could say something similar about the Burj Khalifa, but it certainly has... It's still a monumental landmark.
Building. It's a beautiful
incredible,
building.
I suppose landmark for Dubai, and it's certainly... Although, of course, it's already on the map, but it just further enforces it.
It's stunning. It's stunning.
Internationally and regionally.
It is iconic. And I mean, every guest we get come over to Dubai, where do we take them? We go down to Rivington's Grill, and we sit there and we watch the fountains, and we sit under the town. It's just, most people end up with a tear in their eye.
So it's not always a bad thing, then?
No, it's not a bad thing, but what it is, it's a sign of where the economy goes next. And remember what our motto is as VSM, looking forwards for you. I'm not interested in history. That is irrelevant to what happens to your money in the future. I'm looking into the future, using what empirical or other evidence we can to give us a better edge as to what risks are there. Not what will happen, because you can't predict that. That's impossible. What risks are there? So therefore, do you avoid those risks, or do you run headlong into them smiling? And that's the difference.
Okay. So, again, lots to get through, as always, on this show. Mike is going to be taking us on a bit of a tour around the world, I think, as well. Mike, quick question for you.
Yes, go on.
Completely irrelevant, though.
Oh, right.
It's just popped into my head.
Oh, no.
Do you know why the Financial Times is sort of pink?
Oh, no, I don't know.
Salmon-coloured.
No. Do you know the answer?
No.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
I thought being such an avid reader that you'd have that, you'd know that.
No, I mean, only to differentiate it. But no, I don't know the history. Google that, because that would be, that'd be one of those
smart person out there
party answers
can let us know.
Quiz question.
Why is the FT pink? Why do they call them the pink pages? Let us know. 4001.
I know why they call them the pink pages, but why are they pink? Yeah.
Why do they call? Well, because they're pink.
Because they're pink. Yeah.
They're not really pink though. It's kind of
It's a sort of
salmon colour.
Yeah.
Anyway.